Right, this is just a quick update on a couple of things I've been working on. I was finding my little bucket mash tuns were proving a little bit small. They're only 10 litres, so I thought I'll just basically upsize it, add a bit of insulation because I can't fit this in the oven anymore. So what I've done is basically just got a 20 litre bucket, bought a $10 sleeping mat from the warehouse, just one of the foam ones, and I basically glued it all round. Sorry, the lighting's not very good here. Glued a section on the top and another section on the bottom, and just inside I've just got my trusty braided hose onto a hose fitting which screws onto the back of the tap there, and I was finding that worked quite well. So yeah, I mean, it gives me a little bit more capacity, so I'm not running out of space, especially when I'm batch sparging, but also just hopefully this insulation will hold in the heat a bit better, because before I was chucking it in the oven and it was a little bit unreliable. The other random thing is I finally got this ball valve installed onto my pot, but I was finding was when I gave it a bit of a trial run with some hot water, it was full of oil, which you could sort of smell coming through. So I've just been heating up some water and running it through. I've had the ball valve fully apart, so I'm hoping that's got on top of it. But yeah, anyway, I'm about to do a brew, so we'll see how it all works out. So I've just been messing with my water chemistry a little bit, because I'm brewing sort of a hoppy pale ale. I thought I basically just bring the sulphate up. So what I've done is basically taken my initial 20 litres of water, I've got two 10 litre containers, and basically added a teaspoon of calcium sulphate. So according to the Brew and water calculator, that brings my calcium up to around 58 ppm, my sulphate up to around 134. So yeah, they reckon you can go up to 300 ppm on the sulphate for a pale ale, but I'm not going to go that extreme. So I basically just added it to all my water to begin with, make sure it's all mixed in. Then I basically know the concentration of those ions in there, and hopefully it works out. So my malt bill today for a pale ale is some pale ale malts, some Munich and a bit of Caraamber. So this is sort of working on a recipe that I've played around with in the past, so this is a slight tweak on that, but hoping it'll work. And the hops I'm going to be using are some Columbus and some Nelson Sauvin. So I haven't actually tried the Nelson Sauvin before, so that'll be cool to see how that works out. So what I've got going is I'm going to sort of underlet from my boil kettle, or hot liquor tank, down to my mash tun here. So I'll chuck all the grains in here, and basically I've got my strike water in there, around 7 litres, so this is for a 10 litre batch. Yeah, so hopefully that all works out. So one other malt addition I'm doing is just a little bit of acid malt, and this is just to sort of bring my mash pH down to around 5.3 ideally. So I don't actually have a pH meter, so I've really just had to work off a calculator doing this. So for this brew, according to the calculator, I need around 60 grams. So that's what I'm chucking. Add that to my grains. So what I've done here is actually I bought a bit more of this than I needed. I don't have a mill, so I just have to buy it ground, and I've vacuum sealed it and chucked it in the freezer. So because I only need a small amount of it for each batch, it means I can just basically take what I need and then reseal it and chuck it back in the freezer. I alternatively thought of buying some lactic acid, but I just felt, I don't know, this way actually seemed a little bit easier to me rather than measuring out, half a mil of lactic acid or something. So my strike water was about 75 degrees, and I've just started sending it down to my new and improved mash tun. Doesn't appear to be leaking anywhere, which is good. Just start to see the water coming up around the sides there. So once that's all come up, I'll just give it a bit of a stir and then leave it to sit, and I'll check the temperature, and hopefully the temperature remains stable. So my mash temp had settled at about 66, which I was pretty happy with. So I'll just leave this now for probably close to an hour, mainly just because I'm interested to see how the temperature holds. But I mean, the outside's warm to the touch, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously providing a fair level of insulation. So I've given it 45 minutes for the mash here. I think that'll be long enough. And so I've lost sort of 1 to 2 degrees over that time, degrees Celsius. So I mean, yeah, for what this is, I'm pretty happy with that. So call it a success. I'm just in my batch sparge here, so I've taken off my first runnings. Probably need to get a hose rather than running this like this, but something to get for next time. So yeah, hopefully I'll get a reasonable efficiency out of this brew. I'm just transferring the wort over into the cube now to cool down. So for this brew, all my hops have been thrown into the cube, the Columbus and Nelson Sauvin, so that's providing bittering and flavouring and aroma. So basically they'll be in there as long as this takes to cool, and then basically it'll just get siphoned off and into the fermenter. It's certainly making life a lot easier having a tap. So that wraps up another brew day. Just got my cube cooling down, and then I'll transfer that over into the fermenter. So hopefully it works out alright. I'll be quite interested to see what difference, if any, the addition of the calcium sulfate's made, and see how the Nelson Sauvin turns out in there. And obviously this is only the second brew I've done where I've chucked all the hops in the cube, so I'll be keen to see how that works out in terms of hop flavour and if I've judged the bitterness correctly. So anyway, I'll probably keep you updated, so cheers.